So I would like to introduce you to Naomi. 20 years ago, she was signed up in My Young Living organization, and we had a very close mutual friend. And she's been in my home. I have a home up in Colorado. She's been in my home. We've been really quite good friends. And life took her to another state. And then our mutual friend died. And it's funny how life just takes a turn. Can anybody relate to how life gets really busy? And even though you love the oils and you're doing the things you're doing, she had a son, then it was into raising her son. Can you relate to that? What happens with life? So the thing is, though, Naomi and I have always kind of stayed in touch. And she studied and worked with us for a number of years and happily has come back to join us here to combine her passion for Young Living oils with the study of the Enneagrams. Naomi is the author of Building Bridge Through Personality, an introduction to the Enneagram. And she does have a few books here that if any of you would like the book, you'll be able to purchase it from her. This book is a result of her 19 years of study of the Enneagram personality typing system and a recognition of the need to make this powerful system accessible to as many people as possible. Bringing together healing, understanding, and a holistic modality makes them all more effective. Naomi studied psychology and business at the University of Illinois, Chicago. She has done extensive study in the world of health and healing and offered her services through her coaching and training practices for over 25 years. She is the founder of Infinite Yes Coaching and Infinite Yes Productions, Inc., in her goal and pleasure to serve her fellow humans on the path to unification, wholeness, and love. So how this is going to work tonight, Naomi is just going to share with you all the information she can about Enneagrams, a basic introduction for a lot of you. And then we'll do a kind of a question answer. And then I'm going to come back up and I'm going to give you 3 oils for every Enneagram. Okay? And there was quite a bit of insight to the oils and why these oils, and we're going to give you as much information as we can with that information. And I'm going to share this. Any oil that you use could make a difference. Do you know? Any oil that you use. I'm just going to share this before she talks. Gary Young, when he created the oil blends, he created a name for those blends, that he went into his heart and he went into conversation with God. And this is my home. I'm not, I feel very comfortable about talking about God. I'm not religious, but I'm very spiritual. And I believe that God is my source. I believe the founders of Young Living are very in touch with God. And they were really, a lot of the products, the information was given to Gary through his communication with God. It's why I'm still with this company and doing what I'm doing, because of that alignment. And if God took me today, I know that my life had value for making the difference I've made in so many people's lives. And as Naomi starts to tell you about the Enneagrams, I'm going to pass around 2 oils. These are the 2 oils that I feel if you didn't use any other oils with learning Enneagrams, these are the most important. The first oil is going to be Valor. And Gary created Valor. Companies have copied this blend. Almost every company has actually copied this blend in some way or another. Because this blend is the most grounding essential oil. It's called a chiropractor in the bottle. It supports your structure of your bones. So as a psychoneurologist, guess what your bones represent in your body? Your foundation, your values, your morals, your integrity. So when people have challenges with bones, guess what's being challenged in their life? The foundation of what they've grown up with their whole life is now being challenged. Do you think we live in a world today that's very challenging with some of the beliefs that we've grown up with? Gary would recommend that we use this oil on your feet, okay? I'm not going to have you do that tonight. Most of you don't have socks, and I don't want Valor all over my carpet. But I'm going to ask you to smell it, and you're welcome to put 1 or 2 drops on your wrist, rub them together, okay? And then pass it around. Valor gives us courage to face the day. And when Gary designed this oil, he believed that we need courage to face the world in which we live in, okay? There is a documentary where the Roman soldiers put a blend of oils on their body similar to Valor, a documentary that it supports this oil. When Gary blended this oil, do you think he saw that documentary that was made just a number of years ago? I don't think so. So it's fascinating how things come around. So I'm going to pass around the oil. The other oil that I think is most important for us is white angelica. And Gary made this oil for the angels. And this brings into the angels for all of our protection. And I believe this is one of the most important oils that you could ever put on your body when you're with a lot of people. Because have you ever been around somebody that maybe is a little bit negative or...
Yes.
I love it. And have any of you ever had a hard day at work or this or that? You just didn't want to bring it home? You know, this oil was blended to protect us. It's the angels to protect us. And Courtney, for years, she was a hairdresser. And she said to me, she never went to work without putting this oil on her shoulders so she didn't take on all of her clients' stuff. Because they'd sit in the chair and they'd just tell their whole life. But when she goes home, she wants to be able to cut all those cords and go home. This oil does that. So these are two oils that I literally put on my body continuously all the time. Okay? So I'm going to pass this oil. And we went with that one there. I'm going to go this side here. So eventually everybody will get those two oils. And it is with my great, great pleasure to introduce Naomi to you.
Thank you.
And I'll come back up a little bit later.
So the first thing I want to say is thank you so much to Vonn and Jim. They have been amazing hosts and they've opened their home up. So thank you. Also thank you to Courtney and Luke and Dallas because they have been very generous in helping to make this happen. Courtney and Luke are my upline. And 20 years ago in this room, I learned about the oils for the first time. So it's really wonderful to have moved up to Oregon and be back here today having the opportunity to share with you. I'm kind of a geek and I love the things that, the science behind the oils and the frequency and understanding the meaning, and I'm also very spiritual. You're going to hear me say Creator, you're going to hear me say God. It all means the thing that is the highest divine potential within us. And I love that Vonn and Jim have that in their home and that's something that Gary and Mary stayed true to because I believe that comes through in the products because I've tried other products and they don't come close in my opinion. So a quick show of hands, who knows anything about the Enneagram? Okay, great. So have you just heard of it? Do you know your style? Do you know your number?
No. I know my style, my number.
Style, your number. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is give you just a little bit of a glossary so that we're all on the same page. So the Enneagram, the history of it goes back about 2,000 years. It's gone through a lot of different wisdom schools. The most recent iteration that we see started with Sufism about 1,000 years ago, and I love that because the whole point is to help you reconnect with your own divine essence. It's gone through a lot of different wisdom schools. About 150 years ago, it was brought into the psychology community, and so it has now blended with the psychology community. Some of the challenges that some people have with the Enneagram is that when some of the therapists got a hold of it, they made it a diagnostic tool and they made it all about what's wrong with you. And thing I want to say is there's nothing wrong with anybody in this room. There's nothing wrong with any of us. And we may have things we want to heal. We may have things we want to be able to go higher in. But I want to get rid of that idea because we all have a divine purpose. We all have strengths and challenges. And even if our culture tells us that something that's sort of our inherent predisposition, it doesn't fit, that doesn't mean that it's wrong. It just means that we need to figure out where that fits and honor the true nature of who we are. So that's how I like to use the system. I wrote the book Building Bridges Through Personalities because so much of the information out there is clinical, it is therapeutic, and it is written in such a way that it's not accessible to the lay person. And I believe this information should be available to all of us. So that's why I wrote it the way I did. So there are some handouts, there are some books, and if you want the handouts, we can arrange something at the end. I don't have enough for everybody, but we can email them out too. So in the Enneagram, there are numbers used, And the reason that they originally assigned the numbers is because they thought that it would neutralize any judgment, but we're people, and so people judge. And, and so sometimes people have found difficulties with that as well. I like to use the names of the style because that means you don't have to learn a whole nother language of what is a 2 or what is a 3. So you'll hear me use them in combination. So I will say, like, the 1 is a perfectionist. You'll hear me say those words together so that you understand that a 1 is a perfectionist and they're not two separate things, and you don't have to learn another language to make this a useful tool. When you're reading the information, if you go online, there's this thing that they call levels of development. And people will ask the question, well, what Enneagram style should I be in a relationship with, or who should I focus on? And the answer is the healthiest ones you can. Because no matter what your Enneagram style, it has to do with, are you in thriving or are you in surviving? Are you in your most basic and least functional mode, or are you working to be in that higher place? And the truth is that throughout the course of the day, we all sort of go up and down in our levels of development. And as we're more aware, we can pay attention to the lower levels of development and move ourselves back up to higher levels of development. Quick side note, if you have a question, feel free to raise your hand. I really like interaction. If you need to take care of your body or do whatever, we will take a break, but just go ahead and take care of yourself. So I'm too proud to get reading glasses. I'm sorry. I need to find an oil to help me with that. I'm sure there is one.
Can I
Red.
Pardon?
Dr. Friedman, in the small essential oils, talks about sandalwood just above the eye bone, and another one. Dr. Friedman was with Dr.
There's a
Young.
whole life formula in the book. Jerry Young gave us one, and Dr. Friedman, and Ninja Red. But go ahead and keep going.
I will be doing that. So one of the things is, I'm going to talk about styles, and some of you are absolutely going to go, well, that's me, I can tell. And some of you are going to say, maybe, maybe not. Don't get hung up on, I don't know what style I am. One of the reasons that I'm good at this system and really enjoy it is it took me years to actually figure out what style I was. Because somebody came along and they diagnosed me in a really negative way. So of course, I'm a challenger. I was going to prove him completely wrong until I figured out he was right, but I didn't like the way he told me. So it's also true that you are going to experience multiple aspects of different personality styles. What that really means is you might be, for example, a personality style 4, which is the individualist, the rebel, the artist. These are the princes of our world, the musical artist prince. Dating myself there again. So when you have somebody who is an artistic individual, they might have to learn to be more like an achiever to get along, or they might have to learn to be more like the loyalist to make their way in their family. Sometimes we adapt aspects from our family or our culture so that we can cope. It's a survival strategy. That doesn't mean that's who you are, because each culture has its own type. For example, I was raised Catholic. It's a 2. It's the helper-giver religion. You know, you're taught that you put everybody else ahead of yourself. The Japanese culture is often considered a 6 culture because it's all very much about the community and looking out for the good of the community before you look out for your own good. Greece, on the other hand, is a 4 community where you have lots of vibrancy and lots of individualism that's valued. That's your cultural style, and that's something that affects you, but that doesn't mean that's the essence of who you are. So you're going to, as you go through this, find different elements in you, and we all have all of the elements. But as we look at what is truly our underlying motivation, that's going to land you in your style. Is this making sense? Okay. So there's some language that it's important to understand. we talk about the centers, and we've all heard of head, heart, and body. And it's pretty straightforward. If your predisposition is to thinking, you're in the head center. If your predisposition is toward feeling or emotion, you're in the heart center. If your predisposition is to feeling your gut instinct, then you're going to be in the body center. And we all have all of these instincts. And one of the things is, as we work on ourselves, all of these things come into more balance and they work better together, which is why I think it's important that we move away from it as a diagnostic or trouble tool and more look at it as a tool for what is our potential, what are our strengths and challenges, and how can we communicate better with ourselves and each other through it. So you've heard people talk about introvert and extrovert, and there's this really odd phrase that some people are using now called an extroverted introvert. That's actually not a very, in my opinion, good way to express it, because it creates a conflict. Introversion or extroversion refers to where do you gain energy. When you're talking about what they're calling, for example, an extroverted introvert, what you're really talking about is somebody who is using the social aspect of their survival mechanism to relate to others. We all have these instincts, and the way they separate them out is into being social. And if you're social, that means you think in terms of we first. Then there's the one-on-one. Some people call this the sexual or the charismatic type. This is the person who wants the one-on-one connection. This is the person who goes into a party and looks for their favorite person and then looks for a chair where they can go sit with their favorite person and watch everybody else. Then there's the survival instinct or the self-preservation person. That's the person who walks into the party, hopes you don't see them, finds a quiet place in the corner. They know where the doors are, they know where the bathroom is, they know where the windows are, and they know if there are any skeevy people in that room. That is the CIA in all of us. So we have these instincts, and they are distinctly different from introverted or extroverted. So keep that in mind. You can be an introvert, but still have a very social aspect about you. You can be an extrovert, but still have your predisposition for your survival to take care of yourself, to be self-preserving first. These are just a few things that when you think about the Enneagram and you're learning more, having this in your head will make it make more sense. Or if you go online, you'll go, oh, that's what she was talking about. When we're looking at the Enneagram, and I apologize, but as I was pulling it up for Dallas to put on the screen, my computer just decided everything was going to go away. And I'm sorry, but I was going to put up the chart. So if you think about the Enneagram chart, think of a circle with 9 equal distance points. None of the points are weighted more heavily than the other. And if you think about the number 9 in numerology, it's a completion. If you think about each one of those points, it is not a definition that's hard and really solid. That doesn't mean that's who you are. It means that's your primary motivation. And I like to think of the Enneagram style as the foyer into the mansion of our lives. It gives you a clue about the thing that you most need to feel connected with the divine. So I'm going to use that segue to talk about the styles a little bit. Does anybody have any questions to this point? Okay, so this is a favorite, and honestly it's been around so long in the Enneagram community. I've seen it published by different people. So it's a story that's called Crossing the River by Styles. The first one is the Perfectionist. This is also called the Reformer personality. This is the Nelson Mandelas of the world, the people who see the perfect world and they are willing to sacrifice everything. They're willing to give up all of it to reform the world into their perfect vision of the world. So the 1 approaches the river from the one and only perfect place to cross it. The 2, these are the Princess Dianas of the world. These are the people who are graceful and gracious and are constantly looking for ways to connect with others and meet other people's needs. The 2 starts to cross the river, then they double back to help others cross. As they continue to help others cross, they may never get across the river themselves. 3s, these are the Tony Robbins of the world. These are the people who they know how to get things done. And there is nothing that's going to get in between them and getting things done. It's actually, many people in the Enneagram world say that America is a 3 culture, that what we most value is the ability to achieve or get things done. They wear their best and they wait at the edge until they are the center of attention. Then they do the best, most eye-catching strokes as they cross the river. You will often find these people in sales and management because their personality enables that kind of attention. They like that kind of attention, and not everybody does. 4s, as I mentioned, princes of 4. 4s are, has anybody seen the Elton John movie? Rocket Man. Has anybody seen that? That is a really, really good example of a 4's life. Now, some Enneagram people will tell you he's a 7. I think he's a 4. They will say he's a 7 because he's flashy and has a lot going on. I think he's a 4 because for him it's all about what he's feeling. And the 4, it is all about what they're feeling. They have to be in integrity and feel authentic in what they're expressing. And these are people who will sometimes really challenge us in a business situation because they will be heard, and it is super important that they have their own style. And so the 4 will use a variety of fancy styles, and they might even do a water ballet as they're getting across because they want it to be unique and authentic to them. I have a friend who's a 4. I have a lot of friends who are 4s, but I have a particular friend who's a 4. She looks just like Sybil Shepherd. She has that look about her, and she's got this gorgeous blonde hair that she's letting go naturally gray. And we were at coffee, and I looked at her, and I forgot she was a 4 for a minute. I said, "You are so beautiful. You look just like Sybil Shepherd." The look on her face was like, "Oh my God, I can't believe you told me I looked like someone else." Whereas the rest of us, if we said that, yeah, that's fantastic. But for the 4, having their own authentic brand is so important. So then there's the 5s. And the 5s are the intellectuals, the Stephen Hawkings, the Bill Gates. And some people say that Barack Obama was a 5, but he was a more extroverted social 5 than most. But he had that intellectual quality about him, and that's why they think he might be a 5. The 5 are the people who they need to investigate, they need to understand. These are the people in your business who you're going to make sure you want to give them all the links to all the research that you can possibly give them. 5s never get into the river. They hide behind the trees and take notes and examine what everybody else does. Pardon? You don't have to. 6s, now there's a fair amount of research that says the 6 is the most populous of the styles. And the title for the 6 is the Loyal Skeptic. And these are the salt of the earth people. These are the people who they want to be your buddy, they want to connect, they want to trust you. And they're very, very analytical because what they're trying to figure out is, how do I trust this person? They're trying to figure out how they can develop faith in you and how they're not going to make a mistake so they don't lose faith in themselves. And so I apologize at the moment, I don't remember the 6th celebrity that I meant to say, but keep in mind that the 6s are the people who are the most egalitarian. Bernie Sanders. There's debate whether Bernie Sanders is a 6 with a 5 wing or a 5 with a 6 wing, because he has this sense of we're all one, we're all in this together. But he does have more outward energy than a 5 would normally have. So 7s, again, you know, Elton John, some people say he's a 7 because, oh, I'm sorry, I have to actually read the story about the 6. They distrust the river's current. They wait, and of course, for the security of they wait the course for the security of others to cross the river. So they want to do it together. 6s want to feel like they're part of the community. And this is, when you're talking in terms of your business, these are people who you want to build trust with. You want to make sure that you say what you mean what you say, you carry through, you make sure that whatever you do when you're talking to a 6, if you don't know, say I don't know. If you know, then say this is what I know and there might be more, because they are going to do research and find out more. Make sure that your words are in 100% in integrity with the 6s. And pardon?
Can I interrupt you for 1 second?
Of course.
So we don't have enough of these books for everyone. Okay.
Right, if we have emails, I can email them to them.
Well, you can, and because I have a copy machine here, out of all of these, which one of these would be the most important for some of them to have? The 9 styles of the Enneagram, the 9 styles of the motivation? Because
I think let's just do the 9 styles of the Enneagram, the motivation, and I think the one care about me is I think
that's basically all of this.
okay, just do the first 2 pages. Do the first 2 pages.
Go ahead and just start printing them up so I can do this.
Just do the
Okay,
first.
thank
You can just do the first 2 pages. I'm sorry, I'm not objective about what's important. I think it all is. I tried. So the 7, and 7s can be really interesting because what 7s really crave and long for is a deep and meaningful experience, but their fear is missing out on something. So what they end up doing is they end up having 1,000 things on their calendar, and they get frustrated because they don't have a deep enough experience with any one of those things. So they think if they keep adding more, it will get better. But what happens then is they get overwhelmed. And so Bette Midler is a 7. And interestingly, when you read about her, she's an introverted 7. You don't necessarily think of entertainers all the time as introverted. But when Bette Midler's not on stage, Bette Midler is in her house with a book and her dog and her kids, or she's at a fashion show with her kid. You never see her without her kid, because she needs that inner energy for her to strengthen herself. And so for the 7, one of the things that when you're working with a 7 in your business, what you want to make sure is you don't give them 10,000 things at once. You say, let's start with this, and walk them through and give them an experience of a few things, rather than kind of letting them taste 1,000 things and then having a tummy ache from the buffet that they overdid it on. So 7s will splash and dive and generally have a party, and it doesn't even matter if they get across the river.
What do you call the 7s? What's the name?
The 7s are the Enthusiast. Some people call them the Epicure. The 7s are the one who know the best wine, where to get it, what's the new place. I don't know if you guys have this here, but I live in Portland now, and there's a lot of very Epicurean food companies. And there's a sausage company named Olympia Provisions, and they started bringing out really high quality, fancy sausages. Well, I'm from Chicago, and we call a sausage. That's a great salami. And but no, my niece, who's a 7, she's, oh no, we're gonna go have caricature, and I'm like, okay. So I'm like, what am I going to be eating? And they bring out this lovely tray of very fancy salamis and mustards and cheeses and pickled things. And it wasn't a salami sampler, it was a caricature. And it was at just the right place. And we never went there again. Because she had already done that. Her wedding was really a series of about 7 different restaurants that everybody she knew went to at different times and places for the previous 2 weeks, for the 2 weeks before the wedding. And then she had 2 weddings in 2 locations, and they were 2 days and 3 days respectively. That's how a 7 does a wedding when she doesn't have a budget. So then we have the 8s, and I am an 8. And I'm trying to think of a popular 8. We have people like, I'm sorry, I don't know why I'm not remembering the name. So the 8 is the person who likes power, who stands up in front of you, and who is willing to share and doesn't have a fear of having the opportunity to communicate and influence. Because for the 8 personality, there's an internal sense of largeness that we want to share, because we have this idea about ourselves that we have something to contribute. So 8 children are the ones who run around making everybody crazy, saying, "Mommy, Mommy, did you see that? Daddy, did you know that?" These are some of the precocious kids. And then we have, so the 8 will march into the river and swim upstream against the current. 8s will challenge. They call us the challengers. And part of that is because we will challenge authority, and we will challenge you. And the thing about an 8 is they're not challenging you because they disrespect you or dislike you. The 8 is challenging you because they want to feel where your edges are, and they want to know if they can trust you. Monica Lewinsky would be an 8 because she was there, she was unashamed, she's powerful, she's strong, she did what she wanted to do. And now she's doing something entirely different in her life. But the whole idea of holding that power in your body and moving with it into the world. Then there's the 9. My favorite 9 is Jimmy Carter. Whatever you think of him politically, he is a kind human being. The 9 is called the peacemaker. They're called the moderator. This is the person who wants the world to be peaceful and who wants the world to be a place where everybody's respected. They recognize the unity of all things. The 9 is challenged by not being in touch with their own feelings. And so sometimes the 9, because their motivation is that they want the rest of the world to be peaceful so that they can be peaceful, sometimes the 9 gets lost in people pleasing. And sometimes the 9, the peacemaker, and the caregiver look alike because they have some of the same people-pleasing behaviors. But this is a very important point because the underlying motivation for the 2 is to connect, so they feel like they're connected with the divine. And the underlying feeling of the 9, the peacemaker, is they want the world around them to be peaceful so that they can feel inner peace. So this is why understanding the motivations matters. Any questions before I go into motivations?
Yeah, number 8, I was thinking of our president to some degree, because he seems to swim upstream, very comfortable in his beingness, power. Grew up with a family like that.
There is
Testing the boundaries.
There's a lot of debate about what he is, and this is when you start talking about levels of mental health and development, because he exhibits also some very 3-like tendencies.
What kind of?
So he also exhibits a lot of the 3-like tendencies, a lot of the achiever tendencies.
Okay.
So he's probably a 3 or an 8.
Right.
And there's a lot of debate because he has the achiever personality where he doesn't necessarily think about how what he's doing is affecting other people.
Right.
He does have that 8 energy where he pushes through. I don't have that answer on him.
Fearless in some degree because he really puts himself out there.
He does.
Yeah.
He does. But there's also levels of development, and I don't know I don't know him well enough to know how self-aware he is.
Right.
If I had more of that insight, then I could speak more to it. But some of the outward behaviors, absolutely, I agree. Other thoughts or questions? So one of the things that you're going to get in your handout, thank you for extending the number. I traveled here and yes, there's a question way in back.
I was just wondering, does a 9 get across the river at all?
Let's see. Thank you.
That's a very good question.
The nine ambles into the water and floats downstream with the flow of the current. So the 9 is not as interested in getting to the other side as he is not having his feather ruffled while he's going wherever he's going.
So it's go with the flow, is that what it is?
Well, a 9 can very much be a go with the flow person, but the thing is that 9s are actually very intuitive, very insightful people. And if they go into an unhealthy place where they're not paying attention to their own needs, then they can move into feeling angry and resentment. So I want to talk about motivations. And so the 1 is the perfectionist reformer. Is anybody in here a 1? Does anybody think they might know what the motivation for a 1 is?
Back here.
Well, I wanted to repeat what a 1 was. I think that's me, but
Could you please stand up? We can't hear you.
I wanted to repeat what the 1 was, because I think that's right where I am.
Okay, so the 1 is the perfectionist, the reformer. So I think these folks over here have maybe studied it and they know their 1s.
So what's the question?
The question is, what do you think the motivation for the perfectionist or reformer is?
Is
Praise.
Say that again.
Praise.
Possibly.
I think it's avoidance of criticism.
Possibly. Yes, that's one of them.
They want to be good.
Yes, why do they want to be good?
Fear of failure.
So all of those are true. And if we go to the spiritual aspect of what's motivating them, they want to be perfect so they can be with the Creator. Because to them, if they perfect themselves and the world around them, then they will find the Creator. Ultimately, our motivation is to do the one thing that connects us with the Creator. And we all have a different lens in our mind about what will make us become close or one with the Creator. So the perfectionist, Nelson Mandela, willing to give up everything, has the perfect vision, and then he sacrifices everything. And, his family suffered, his wife suffered, his nation thrived, his vision got brought into being. Now, on a more everyday application of the perfectionist, something people don't understand is that the perfectionist, or maybe they do, some people might experience this or know this, the perfectionist in their own mind is harder on themselves than they are on anybody else. So the perfectionist, I lovingly sometimes say the perfectionist is the person who's most likely to iron their gym clothes. Because it matters so much to that perfectionist that they do it right, because to them doing it right is love. And so you hear criticism. I have a gentleman who's a client, and he's very talented, he makes a great deal of money, and he very specifically does not want any promotions. And when you ask him why, he said, because I don't like people that much. Because I don't want to have to deal with people that much. They are too much work, and I can never get them to really understand my vision. The only way I would ever manage a bunch of people is if I had 100% control and I knew that they would be able to hear me. He has one person and they get the work of 5 people done together, because she's a helper giver with a very strong 1 aspect. So life for perfectionists, we like to, I think perfectionists kind of get a hard time in our world, because we kind of just want to say, oh well, just be ish, it's okay, just relax. But if we understand that the motivation for them is to be closer to God, to be closer to the divine, and that their criticism of us is coming from a place of them loving us enough to want to give us their energy to help us do better, then we can take a compassionate stance and say to them, here's a story. My assistant is a 2 and her fiance is a 1, is a perfectionist. And they were recently working on their deck in their backyard. And she looked at him and she said, Eric, you're doing a really, really good job. I love you, it's okay. And she saw his tension level go from here to here, because she recognized that the critic in his head was pounding on him. And when she looked at him and made a loving, compassionate connection and said, you're doing a really good job. It's not going to be perfect, it's wood. Wood isn't perfect. You're okay, it's okay. It helped him to feel connected to his own inner state of well-being. So, for example, when you're working with yourself in your business, or when you're working with people on your team in your business, recognizing that one energy might look like somebody saying, what do I need to get this right? Asking the same question multiple times. Almost kind of trying too hard to get all the details right, and thinking that they can't keep going, they can't take the next step until they have it right. So there's a couple of things you can do. First of all, you can help them learn a few things to a level of their confidence. Another thing you can do is you can reassure them, because words of affirmation, kind words, usually go a long way with the 1, but don't overcompliment them. Don't ever gush good things at a 1, or they will absolutely think you are lying to them, no matter how much you might think it's true. A couple of kind words, really nicely done outfit, good job, you got everything correct. Compliments, straightforward, something that they can believe in. So when you're working with these people in your business, you want to help them to understand how they are going to have the opportunity to be excellent in what you're doing. And one of the things that, if you are a 1, a perfectionist, or you love a 1, you might share with them, is there are a lot of really good articles online about the difference between perfectionism and excellence. And if you can introduce this idea that excellence matters, but perfectionism is impossible, that's one of the things you might share with them. Questions, thoughts? Yeah.
Let me take a deep breath. So I'm 75, and about 32 years of old age, I decided to, I'm going to make this very quick. So over the process of my life, I started to read books like Power versus Force by Dr. David Hawkins.
Mm-hmm.
So when I look at the 9, when you get the connection, even part-time, to the fountainhead of creation, you can integrate all 9 of these. Because I've coordinated 4 federal antitrust lawsuits across the country. Here's 2 cents kid go out the blizzard. I've coordinated, mentored young people. I've helped get my stepdaughter from 6 years old to private college. I've been all over, and you have to integrate some part of all these 9. When you start to get to the fountainhead and realize you're a hologram of the primary creator. I mean, it's been said in the Bible, don't you know you're little gods? Nietzsche, don't you know you're miniature gods? And Wayne Dyer said, don't you know you're God? And even my office manager walked in part-time and said, don't you know we're all God? So when you start to get that viscerally, then you become like, wow. I mean, it's just like I have difficulty in my own reincarnation, all of that. So when Dr. Hawkins talks about raising your frequency, most people only do 5 frequency points per incarnation, and I'm up, I can see Jung, Maslow, we're up around 1 to 1,000.
But Robert, this is a whole other class.
I just wanted to, I understand, but you understand.
That's why I'm telling you, it's a whole other
My
class.
point, so my bottom line is that yes, God is perfect, the rest of us strive for excellence. I'm just trying to make from my own personal experience, what has happened to me. Through all the stages, the rites of passage, as Gail Sheehy would say.
So I agree with you in the premise, and what you're saying is that we're all God. And some people find God walking in a field and smelling a flower, and then they realize that they are the flower and they are God. And some people find it in Power versus Force or in the Enneagram. So
Thank you.
these are all truths, and these are all tools. We can, you could smell frankincense all day and suddenly realize that, oh my God, Christ lives inside of me, because it's the Christ frequency. And so, and we can look at each other, and that's part of why I wrote Building Bridges, is because if we can look at each other with compassion, and we can see our personalities as a way to get together instead of things that repel each other, instead of our personalities putting us in silos because of our differences, then we experience the unification. And I agree with you, and thank you for making that point.
Thank you. You took it right,
I get it.
Bottom line.
I get what you're saying. That's where I live, and this is the tool that I've been given right now to help people see that.
Thank you.
So let's talk a little bit about the helper giver and their motivation. Does anybody in here know that there are two?
Well, you know that Courtney is too.
Courtney, we know that you're a two.
She's making copies.
Okay. Well, because she's a two. So you know that you're a two. So what can you tell us about the internal, like what it feels like to be a two? What moves you?
Well, I mean, to help other people, I don't know that you can say it any simpler than that, really.
So what about helping other people feeds you?
I don't know that I can put it into words right on the spot.
Because it's a feeling.
Yeah.
Because you're in the heart center.
Right.
So if I may, it moves your heart to help others.
Yes.
I think it gives you strength too, like inner strength, when you help others. That's what it does for me when I help others. It just adds an extra calmness to me to be able to help somebody else.
It kind of feels silly to say it, but just like what motivates us to be closer to our Creator, to Christ. For me, that's what He did in my eyes. And I don't know. I think just an inner motivation for that.
Some people would say, and I don't know because I didn't actually meet Christ when He was here, so I don't know what His personality was. Some people say that His personality was that of a two. I can't tell you for sure one way or the other. But what you often find with twos is this report that it is very, very nourishing to contribute, to help others. I think a two is probably the first person who said namaste. This, I see something in you, let me contribute to your well-being. Now the challenge for the two is that you forget that you exist, and then you're overdoing. And you really, the thing that you have to do with your twos is to make sure that they are using their oils on themselves first. It's sort of like the story we've all heard about the airbag and the airline, So with your twos, if you are a two, or if you are training a two or mentoring a two, bringing them onto your team, make sure that that they're actually using the oils on themselves. Make sure that they're actually having the experience of feeling better, of having a positive experience with the oils. Encourage them in that, because the two is the person who's gonna give all of this away and spend too much time training others and too much time helping others and have a hard time building their business because there's so much of their energy is going outward rather than also creating this balance of this really nice container for themselves. Does that resonate?
Yes.
Does that sound true? So the two's motivation is that through connecting with others, through seeing the God in others, they are going to get closer to God themselves. And there's truth in that. Can somebody give me a time check?
It's 8 o'clock.
Okay, so let's go another 5 minutes and 10 minutes, and then we'll take a quick break.
No, we don't take any breaks at my house.
No breaks.
Break
Okay.
things. Obviously, we will take a recess.
Okay, so we will take a recess in about 10 minutes. I'll go through a few more of these. Thank you for clarifying that. Okay, so let's talk about the helper giver. Let's talk about the performer, the achiever. Does anybody in here know if there are 3 personality type?
Can you go back to the 2 and
Yes,
talk
ma'am.
about the business, or did you already cover that, like the business side of having a 2? Just
So no,
emphasize that they're helping.
that's what we're here for, is we're here to help understand the business and the Enneagram, because it makes such a difference if you can have some understanding of what your team is. So as a 2, the first thing they're going to do is say, oh my goodness, my friend could really use that. Now, on one hand, that sounds really good because, oh good, they're going to bring people in, and that's an important quality. But you also want to say, and what are you going to do for yourself? The question for your 2s is always, and so what are you doing for yourself? So if you're paying attention to 4 other people today, and you're training 4 other people, and you're giving out 6 hours of your time and energy to other people, what is the half hour or 60 minutes you're going to take to fill your own tank? So that's one of the questions with the 2. The other question with the 2 is, so how are you feeling? The 2s, as a 2, as a helper giver, it really matters to you that somebody cares about how you feel. Because you can go help 10 people and you're happy about that, but if just one of them says, thank you so much, how do you feel? Suddenly it's just like your tank is full again. So, whereas with the 1, you want to be practical about your encouragement. How can I help you? What do you need to know? You did a good job. Specifically, you did a good job in making sure that the application and the order was done right for the first time. With the 2, you want to say, you helped so many people today. Tell me about the people you helped. How did you help them? And you also want to then give the 2 the positive feedback. You did really good, and I appreciate what you did. I appreciate the way that you help others. And this is what I think is really good about you. Looking a 2 in the eye and saying thank you and I care about you, like literally 10 minutes of that gives them a full tank for the day. Does that help answer your question?
Yes.
The thing you have to look out for with the 1 is that they get stuck because they're trying to do everything perfect. And then you have to encourage them to go with the ish, like it's excellent or it's perfect-ish, you know, and to reassure them that they're okay, even if maybe something doesn't total upright, they're still okay. Even if they don't really understand the comp plan entirely and they can't recite it on the first week, they're still okay. You'll get it, and you'll be okay. Reminding them that they're safe. And if you want to take one idea, to go back to this idea that there's one idea, if you want to take one idea that goes across all of the Enneagrams and everything else that I have discovered, is if you can say to a person, you're safe, and how can we elevate you? You're safe. It's okay, you're safe. You're with God, you're with friends, you're safe. Because that's the most basic human need. This gentleman brought up Maslow's. Maslow's the basic need is to feel safe. Once you feel safe, then you can engage with your tribe. Once you can engage with your tribe, then you can go out and you can do the things you need to do to be successful, to be happy. Then you can start moving up into self-awareness. The first thing is, if someone's stressed, don't tell them not to be stressed. Tell them that they're safe. You're safe here. That is going to get you a lot more mileage than telling somebody not to try and be perfect, because they're built that way. You can't tell them not to be perfect. But you're safe. So the next one is the performer, achiever, the doer. Is anybody here know if they're a type 3? The type 3 is the person who, I have to admit, when I first started this, I had a struggle with a type 3 because they seemed callous about other people. But what I've come to discover is they're not really callous about other people. They demand so much doing of themselves, and they know how to get things done. That is what they are programmed to do. They're the person who is going to charge the hill. They're going to get the job done. And they might not mean to, but they don't know how to pay attention to collateral damage until they've developed themselves. So they might hurt feelings. They might step on toes along the way, but they're going to get the job done. So these are really great personalities to have on your team. And it's also really important when you have these personalities to help them remember that they have inherent value. I have some CEOs that I work with that are the 3 personality types. It's very common when you get into upper management to have people who are these drivers, these driven people. So what ends up happening is they forget their own value. I was talking to this gentleman 2 weeks ago and trying to get him to see that what he values is what he does, not his existence. And I asked him, I said, if you were in a restaurant and you saw a person who couldn't pay for their meal, what would you do? Well, I'd pay for their meal. Like, why? You don't know this person. Well, because he's a person, he needs to eat. But he was giving that stranger more credibility as a human being than he gave himself. Because he doesn't even think about his own needs as a person. So the interesting thing about the 3 personality type is they are a heart type. And once they get in touch with their heart, they are the best mentors. They are amazing at helping other people get things done. But what you have to do with the 3 is remind them that the doing is important, but that you care about them as a person. That they have intrinsic value. That's where their pain is that they don't know that they have intrinsic value. So when you're with somebody who seems so involved with getting to the goal, and their goal is so much more important than everything else, you might look them in the eye and say, you know, you have intrinsic value. Like what you do, like if you stop doing it, you'd still matter. And if you say that to one of those people at first, it's like it shakes them up. But after you've said that a few times and you prove to them that they matter as a human being, it starts to open their heart up, and then you start to get this great warmth that comes along with this ability to do. And then you start looking at people like, I think Madeleine Albright might be a 3. She knows how to get things done. And yet, when you look at her, you can see that she really cares about human beings. She really cares about the humanity, and she's getting things done with her heart open. So, any questions or thoughts about that? Yes?
I think one of my older siblings is a 3. What does an unhealthy 3 look like versus a healthy 3?
An unhealthy 3 looks like somebody who is so concerned with doing things that person forgets that other people have feelings and they walk over other people to get things done.
So a little demanding, like cutthroat kind of? Or
They can actually move into being really lacking empathy and compassion. Because they stop feeling their own feelings, so they lose the ability to consider the impact of their feelings on others. Does that help?
Yeah.
Other thoughts or questions? We're going to do the 4, and then we're going to take our...
No, you're going to keep doing.
We're going to keep doing. We're just going to keep doing. So if you got to take care of your body, you're all grown folks. Go do what you need to do. Okay. So then we have the 4. We have the individual, the romantic, the rebel. These are the people who in high school might have been in drama club, they might have been the emos, they might have been the kids who always showed up in something different. You know, I went to Catholic school, we wore uniforms. You could still tell who the 4s were because of their jewelry or their shoes or their hair. Cyndi Lauper is a 4. Has to be herself no matter what. The challenge with the 4 personality is that they can forget about the upper range of feelings. The challenge with the so kind of wait to look at your stuff, because you can take that home with you, and then we can open it up in a little bit, but otherwise we're gonna all be in a different place mentally. Thank you. So the 4 needs to express. The 4 is the person who can stand with you in whatever emotional storm you have and be completely unflustered by your emotional storm. They're the friends who, when you're calling and you're just so upset, they can put their arm around you and be like, I love you, you're okay. It's okay, you can be depressed, you can be upset. And so 4s you often find in the counseling field, and 4s are often people who you find in artistic fields, creative fields. In your business, your 4s are the people who are going to want to understand the oils, but they're going to find a different angle on using the oils. They're going to want to do it their own way. So you might say to a 4, you use lavender as an antihistamine to help with your histamines, because it can help with your allergies. Well, the next thing you know, the 4 is making lavender cocktails because it's something completely different than the norm. And so, does anybody in here know if they're a 4? These people don't, these people, yes.
Entertainer, 1,000 performances, New York City nightclub.
There you
In
go.
the 70s.
There you go. There you go. And, it would also make sense that for you, your integrity was to say, there's this whole thing that you all need to hear and it all fits together. And so the rebel inside of you, the drive for authenticity inside of you couldn't let you not say that. And that's fine, because it brought us all together in its own way. And that's one of the places where 4s can sometimes be overlooked. And when you're doing, if you're doing a corporate training, 4s, you often don't even find 4s in a lot of businesses. In our kinds of business, we're gonna find more 4s because they're drawn to something that's out of the ordinary. So when you have your 4s in your life, you want to make sure that you appreciate their authenticity and that you hear them. Because just like the information this gentleman brought, it was not on the agenda, but it certainly contributed to what we were talking about. So you need to make spaces for 4s, and one of the worst things you can do is not hear a 4 or not actually let them speak. Because when a 4 is speaking and trying to express their idea, if you try to shut them down in the middle, it literally causes physical pain for a 4 if you don't allow them to express what they are experiencing. And that's part of the reason why you will maybe find 4s as emos, or you all know what I mean by emos, the people who goths and people who really go out of their way to make the point that they're not one of us. The point they're trying to make is, you guys aren't listening to me, and I have to do something to be heard. So with people on your team who are 4s, listen to them. Questions? Okay, we touched on the intellectual, the 5, the intellectual, the investigator, Stephen Hawking's, Bill Gates. These are the people who think deeply, and thinking is what nourishes them. Now, we all have intellectual capacity, and I'm not talking about intellectual capacity. I'm talking about, for the intellectual, being in a library is safer and happier than being with people, because people are very draining for the intellectual. So if you're not a 5 and you look at somebody sitting in a desk as a professor for 40 years and writing dissertations and doing research, to most of us that sounds like an unusual way to spend a life, and we don't know that it's appealing. But for a 5, what that means is that they actually have had time to master a thought or an idea. There's a deep longing for mastery, and that's what motivates their intellectual investigations and drives. They want to understand something so well that they've gone beyond the knowing of it to the wisdom of it. So if you have 5s, they're probably not the people who are going to want to be on stage. Maybe they will. They are more likely going to be the people who are going to do research, who are going to want to know as much as they possibly can about the history and the science, and they are going to be the people who maybe are setting up internet businesses. They're more likely to want to communicate by email than in person. And so these are the people who are going to connect in that way. Questions? Can you see how we need all these different types of personalities? How they all help to serve the whole. And this is why when somebody says, who should I be in a relationship? Everybody, just try to be as healthy as you can. So the 6 is the loyalist. And I kind of call these people the salt of the earth, or the 3 musketeers. Once a 6 is decided, once they've analyzed and they have committed, they're very faithful. These are people who they'll take a bullet for you. Once they have faith in you or what they're doing with you, they don't even question it anymore. One of the great things about 6s that the loyal skeptic is their egalitarian attitude. They don't necessarily buy into hierarchy, and that can actually make them a very strong member of the tribe, because they don't put themselves over anybody or anybody over them. These are probably the first guys to ever wear, Bermuda shorts with Birkenstocks, because that's what was comfortable. And they didn't really care what anybody thought about it, because that's what they wanted to wear. You're going to thrive with these people by being consistent in what you have to say. You're going to thrive with these people by being specific, and when they ask for information, say, this is what I have, feel free to get more. Don't ever tell these people to stop getting answers. You can tell them that it's time to take a risk with the amount of information you have, but they are always going to be the researchers. One of the challenges that this type faces, because they do think so much, is anxiety. So one of the first things to do if you think a person might be a 6, if they talk about having anxiety, is introduce them to some oils that will help them with their anxiety, because then they will have faith in it, because they'll have an action that moves them into a better place. So then we have the Enthusiast, the Epicure. We talked a little bit about this personality before. When you're working with this person, this is the person who's going to come in and they're going to sound like a superstar, and we're going to get this all done, and oh my God, I've got 10 people, I'll sign them up next week. And then, then you get on their call list and you text them, and they're not really ghosting you, because 3 months later they're going to call you and say, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And it's simply because they overwhelm themselves. So if you have somebody who you think might be a 7, they tend to be really busy, what you want to do is you want to give them that one-on-one connection and say, okay, let's pick 3 things about Young Living that really interest you. And let's go deep with those so that you have an understanding. Because the minute they have that depth of connection with an idea, it will help to start satisfying that inner connection. And when you do that, then that's where you get their loyalty. But don't ever take it personal if they don't call you back. So we talked about the challenger personality. With the challenger personality, one of the things that you want to do is you want to let them know that they're part of the team and that they matter. You want to let them know that their power can bring positive impact, because the 8 personality does have a lot of physical power. Usually you can tell an 8 because they have a strong physical stature, or even if they're not a tall person, they have a stature about them. They have a presence that moves a lot of energy into the room with them. And so this is a person who you want to invite in, and you want to make sure that when you're talking to them and you're communicating, what you do is you let them know that they have the ability to use the oils in a way that's going to create positive influence in other people's lives. That's what they're looking to do. So they personally want to know they matter, and they want to know that what they do is going to matter to make people's lives better. And then we have the 9. The 9, just give them peace and calming and everything will be okay.
What's the 9 called?
The 9 is the peacemaker. They're also called the mediator. This is the personality style. They're very intuitive. They also can sometimes withhold their energy. They sometimes don't come forward real quickly. These are the people who you don't push. You don't push them. You invite them, and you invite them, and you invite them. And they will move into the space when they feel like they are there. But one of the mistakes that people often make with 9s is a 9 can be genuinely interested. There's a fellow speaker who was telling a story. He was at a conference, and he thought he was just rocking this conference. But there's this one guy in cowboy boots. Oops. There's this one boy in cowboy boots in the front of the room, and he sits like this for the whole conference, the whole 3 hours the guy was talking. And the speaker goes, "Oh my God, I am blowing this. I do not know. What am I doing wrong? How am I going to get through?" And he's like so focused on this guy trying to get his attention. Well, at the end of the conference, the speaker goes over and he says to this man, he says, "I'm really sorry, it didn't seem to engage you." And the man looked at him, and he sat up in his seat, and he said, "Son, I've been to a lot of conferences in my life, and this was one of the best ones. I learned more from you than from anybody else." 9s, like the rest of us, don't judge a book by its cover. The 9, sometimes the 5, but especially the 9, will hold that energy right here. Doesn't mean they're not interested. It just means they're waiting for the internal movement. And if you push that internal movement on a 9, you're going to push it inside instead of bring it out. Definitely, definitely learning to make space for people to come to you also. Questions, thoughts? Yes?
Yeah. What are good questions to help 9s externalize instead of internalize?
So first of all, 9s don't especially like feeling their feelings, so you ask about something that's neutral.
Okay.
So you might say, if you're going to talk about the oils, "So, what's your name?"
Hannah.
Hannah? "So, Hannah, here's this oil." Create a mutual focus outside of the 9. Don't ever look at the 9 and ask them to talk about themselves. They'll do that when they're ready and if they trust you. "So what do you think about this? What was your experience?" So now there's an external thing and you're asking them to relate it to themselves, but you're not asking them to expose themselves.
Okay.
Other thoughts or questions? So,
Okay, so what I'd like to do right now, because we basically said the class would be a couple hours. So it's already 9:30 and I would like,
9:30?
it's already 8:30.
Oh.
And what I would like to do, I'm testing her. What I would like to do is just go over some of the oils. And then let's just casually open it up for questions. I've got some water, I've got a little bit of food in the kitchen, then we can just socialize a little bit. Naomi does have some books, not a lot, but we do have some books, so if anybody's interested, and if anybody is like totally confused, is anybody totally confused? Honestly? One honest person in the back of the room, you're wondering like, where are you in all of this? Another honest person now? No, okay, okay. So then what we'll do is we'll have that opportunity to ask her, because I really look at her as being a master in this. And then kind of integrated into how to work with the people and your family around you so that you have a better understanding of yourself and the people around you. Does it sound good? So you have a question, and then I'm going to go into the oils.
I'm wondering, is there a place where we take this test? Like, I know there's a bunch of people.
You can contact
Yes.
me. You can contact me. You can get the test through me.
Okay.
And I use a third-party vendor, but they're the best one I found. Yes.
So all of that information we'll give at the end of the class for
Okay.
everything. So, okay, you ready for some oils with this?
Yes.
Okay, and do you have a sense, with everyone got the paperwork, right? So with Naomi's paperwork, she's giving you the 9 styles, and then she's also giving you the motivators, and then she's also giving you a sheet that actually has the 9 styles that care about me,
Right. It's about caring in both directions. Yes.
and then how I process the 9 styles. Okay?
So I do have one request. This is copyrighted information. So this is for you, and if you want to use it with your team or something, just contact me so I know where it's going.
So what I'm going to do with how we did the oils, we found 3 oils for each, and yet I could actually dive even deeper. Do you know what I'm saying? But what I'm going to do right now is just give you the 3 oils, and we've kind of looked when we went into this, we kind of went to a place of the spiritual influence, and the motivative influence, and then the emotional with this, with the oils, and it was quite an intuitive deep dive for this. Okay, so the number 1, and if Naomi can play with me with this, we can partner in sharing this with you. So the number 1 Enneagram is the Perfectionist and the Reformer, and the oil that we have for this is Envision. And Envision contains scents that stimulate feelings of creativity and resourcefulness, encouraging renewed faith in the future and the strength necessary to achieve your dreams. Envision is a blend made up by black spruce, geranium orange, lavender, sage, and rose. So it's a very uplifting oil. What the spiritual influence is this oil helps to release emotions of being stuck, humiliation, or confinement.
Can I say something?
Okay.
So if you think about what we said about the judgment that the perfectionist always has going on in their mind, think about the pain and the humiliation that the perfectionist is feeling. And so this idea of releasing the humiliation, we don't think of it in that way, but it is something that they deeply feel because they can never ever get it right enough to be with God.
So it will help those who feel overwhelmed to the point where they are losing control. It will reinforce positive emotions of self-worth, trust, truth, and emotional balance so we can move forward and see our life in a positive way. You got to remember that perfection in the rank of standards, it's actually the lowest standard, believe it or not, because perfectionists get to the point where then they don't do anything because they know that they can't reach perfection. So it really is this constant loop where we feel confined and we feel stuck. Okay? So Envision is the oil. Another oil for number 1 is Clarity. And this is a blend of basil, rosemary, peppermint, and coriander, geranium, bergamot, lemon, ylang-ylang, jasmine, Roman chamomile, and palmarosa. This is a fantastic oil for training animals when providing them with new information on any level, especially those who have fears of lack of concentration, because they get easily distracted. It will definitely help them process the information and maintain focus on what is important to them. I don't know why we actually had this on animals. I will share with you when Courtney was a baby and when I came to Young Living, we created the Essential 7 kit in the car with Mary and Gary taking me to the airport. And the funny thing is, what brings this story up, because I think if I can share with you stories, you have a connection. Do you know what I'm saying? And so we didn't have the oils that we have today. We didn't have the variety of those oils we had today. And Mary and I both came from a background of Chinese medicine. And in Chinese medicine, we believed it was so simple. If one system of the body was out of balance, then it affected the rest of the systems. And Mary and I were frustrated because it was like, how do we talk about the oils where people aren't overwhelmed? How many of you have ever felt overwhelmed with oils? There's so many. And then we have the blends, and it's like, so people have come with this overwhelmment. So the Essential 7 kit, which was the first kit, was created, the number 7, because we knew that you would remember your telephone number. The psychology of the brain, that we knew that you'd remember 7 digits. Is that amazing? So, and then we always designed kits because kits always gave you a better deal. And the reason that I share all this with you is when Courtney was a baby and the challenges that we had with the lack of oxygen to the brain and the social world of today telling me I'd have to institutionalize my daughter. 35 years ago, we know more about the brain today than we know in all of these years. Clarity was the number 1 oil for Courtney as a child. And we've had that oil from the very beginning of Young Living. And I always like to tell stories to let you know, because I think that a lot of people, and if I look at the top 10 aromatherapists in the world, the best of the best, the ones that books are written on, and these are not people that got a little certification through the email out of England. Do you guys understand what I'm saying? And most of the top, and there's less than 10, literally, they're all doctors, believe it or not. That books and the science behind true essential oils and aromatherapy, not perfume aromatherapy, medicinal therapeutic aromatherapy, okay? They would only use 10 or 12 oils. They would only use 10 or 12 oils. They would make their blends and they would layer. And you go into the history of essential oils and aromatherapy and you really go back all the way. We can go to Egypt, we can go to China, and you'll find that they only use 10 or 12 oils. So the majority of people are literally just an overwhelmment of all of the oils that we have today. But I'm going to share with you, Clarity was one of the first oils that Young Living gave us to stimulate the brain and creativity and that place of moving forward in your life. It's a phenomenal oil. And with any doubt, when using the oils, always put them on your feet. The bottom of the big toe is the greatest place that you could put Clarity, and the brainstem, and the temple. So the spiritual influence of Clarity, it's an essential oil will help those who are resistant to learning new things or changing habitual patterns. It gives the mental clarity and laser focus needed to overcome changes and embrace learning on a new level. And wouldn't you say that that could be so important in the world that we are today? That we're in a world of such knowledge and such information to just grasping. And I will share with you, we are creatures of habit. So you want to change your life, change a habit. One day at a time. Is this important? I mean, is this...
Yes.
Because my outcome with this, and Naomi's, is this is just a tool. It's another tool in our toolbox for us to have better understanding. But for me, in my history with Young Living, the greatest gift that I can give you in Young Living is new resources on how to use these oils. Because what happens is people get their little starter kit and they don't open it. You know, or they get an oil and they just don't open it. I see some of you laughing. You know, it's like that starter kit. Do you know that those 12 to 13 oils you get in that starter kit, do you know the science that went behind those oils? That those 11 to 13 oils will cover anything from any spiritual, emotional, financial, or physical issue in the body? That there was a science behind those blends and those singles? It's like I always tell people, what do you order when you use up all those oils in the starter kit? You order another starter kit. If you really understood how powerful those oils were that were designed in that kit. So the other oil for the Perfectionist, I said there was 3. So what was the first one? Envision. What was the second one? Oh, gosh, you guys are good. So the last one is Acceptance for Perfection. And it encourages feelings of self-worth when used aromatically. So this is a blend. It's actually a blend in sweet almond oil. It's coriander, geranium, bergamot, frankincense, royal Hawaiian sandalwood, neroli, grapefruit, blue cypress, ocotillo, jasmine, ylang-ylang, blue tansy, rose, tangerine, spearmint, and lemon. Now the amazing thing is, I could have told you why every one of those oils are in that, but Courtney said, Mom, it's too much information and you're going to overwhelm them. So I'm just giving you the list. But what I really love to do is I love to deep dive and tell you why Gary did what he did with those oils and why those blends come together. But that will be another class.
So
Okay?
something
What
that
was the name of that oil?
acceptance. So one of the things that I love about the oils is that whatever the intention you set when you use the oil, and you use the oil that corresponds to the intention, it gives it more power. And that if a perfectionist, if any of us can move into acceptance of life as it is without resigning ourselves to life as it is, then we can have hope, we can move forward. And I think that I love the name and the science and the frequency behind these oils, because the intention of Gary and everybody else in Young Living that brought them to us matches the intention of bringing us even to a higher spiritual place or a higher emotional place than we know we can go to.
So I'll just finish this one out. What's a spiritual influence? Accepting situations, whether physical or emotional, is something we all deal with on a daily situation. Usually when we resist or we try to control the situation, things oftentimes become worse or blow up in our face. Acceptance gently helps us to accept challenges so we can move forward rather than meeting them with resistance, anger, and resentment. It asks us to be more open as well as attract new things in our life, whether it be people, relationships, or even animals. Those who are prone to procrastination or in denial will benefit from this oil as well. So right now, there's 3 oils. They were what? Envision, clarity, and acceptance. Do you think all of us could use those 3 oils? Yes. Okay, that's only 1 if you're a 1 in the Enneagram. Are you ready for number 2? Yes. Is this useful? Yes. Are you having fun? Yes. Okay, because if you're not having some fun, I got a couple of Enneagram jokes that I don't know she knows I have. So after this, I'll give you one of my jokes, okay? Okay, number 2, we learned from Naomi that it is the helper, right?
Yes.
The giver.
Yes.
So the first oil we have for number 2 is to fulfill your destiny. It's a complex blend of 9 oils. Will help you find the focus and drive you need to achieve your goals and unlock your highest potential. It will enhance meditations and spiritual awareness, and it creates empowering atmosphere. It has tangerine, frankincense, nutmeg, cassia, cardamom, clary sage, black pepper, Idaho blue spruce, and neroli. Fulfill your destiny. Do I even have to say spiritually what for fulfill your destiny would do?
Yes, please.
I don't have it because it's that spiritual thing. You got to work with me, Hannah. Okay. Okay, the second oil here would be gratitude. And it fosters a gratitude attitude and embrace the blessings in your life. The uplifting aroma of gratitude invites a feeling of emotional and spiritual progress. It is a blend of balsam, Canadian balsam, frankincense, coriander, myrrh, ylang-ylang, bergamot, northern lights black spruce, vetiver, and geranium. What is the spiritual influence? Gratitude essential oil helps to release the emotions of sorrow, anger, obsession, and resentment. This will help foster positive emotions of gratitude, thankfulness, and contentment. It will also help those who feel it is not safe to be themselves, be in their body or in this world. In the case, I would also use grounding oils such as grounding or hope. Any of these tree oils also help with grounding in the body. So I'm going to share with you, there's one oil that if you were to look at all of the oils that Gary gave us that would shift your life into a place of manifestation. How many of you would choose to manifest more things in your life? More positive, abundant, prosperous things in your life. So specificity might be real key to what I'm saying here. The place we start is gratitude. I will share with you, if you started every morning before your feet touch the ground, giving gratitude for at least 3 things in your life, and if you went to bed every night with taking your feet off the ground with 3 things that you're grateful for the day, your life will change within 30 days. If you've ever received anything out of my office, we put gratitude oil on everything that is mailed out of this office. So that's something to think about. If you're in a job or something in correspondence and you're mailing out, have a signature scent that people resonate with you with. I will be curious to be what it will be for Naomi with Enneagrams. And the last oil for number 2 is 3 Wise Men. And it contains sandalwood, frankincense, and myrrh, sweet almond oil. It's also got the Hawaiian sandalwood, juniper, and frankincense in it, black spruce, and then the myrrh. The 3 Wise Men essential oil releases negative emotions of fear, exhaustion, and frustration. Do you think the giver sometimes gets frustrated? It will help you open to joy, excitement, and personal change. When we can unlock emotional blocks, it is so much easier to move forward on our spiritual path. This oil is used frequently in energy work, not only because it facilitates emotional clearing, but also because it protects the wearer from negative energies and emotions of those around us. This is important when doing intuitive work, and if we are picking up other energies, we are not transforming others to or ourselves. So it's important to stay centered and protected. So those, what were the 3 oils for the giver?
Destiny, gratitude, 3 Wise Men.
And do you think at this point in life we could all use those oils?
Yes.
Okay, number 3, Naomi, is our performer.
The performer, achiever, the person who does too much and needs to know that they are intrinsically valued.
And the first oil we have for number 3 is Live with Passion. And this oil fosters an optimistic attitude and a general enthusiasm for life. It's a blend of royal Hawaiian sandalwood, clary, ginger, jasmine, angelica, patchouli, cedarwood, helichrysum, melissa, and neroli. Live with Passion will help those release emotions of hurt, dread, or fear, embracing life. It will also help those who tend to always be pushing to make something happen or are pushy. Do you think that this overachiever might be a little pushy at times? It will, what was that?
My husband's he's a total.
It will help us let go of hurts of the past and integrate positive emotions so that we may choose a fuller and more passionate life. The next oil is an oil blend that Gary put together for the ULA gentlemen. These are 2 gentlemen that came into the company with a book called ULA Life, living life out there. And they've given us Gary blended oils that create friends and family and finances. And this blend for this overachiever in life is the ULA blend called Balance. How many overachievers would like to find that balance in their life? This blend is designed to align and balance your center for a positive outlook and amplify the ability to focus on passions, behaviors, and health when diffused. The spiritual influence, it's an essential oil harmonizing the body by pulling the body's energies in at the core, which is a solar plexus, then redistributing it throughout the chakras and the body, which brings emotional balance and mental focus. And another word for chakras is energy centers of the body, okay? For those who tend to work too much or become overwhelmed easily, this oil will help to rebalance and focus on how a person can walk through the circumstances in our life rather than fight them. It will help people embody their path. She chews things, I'm just telling you. Sometimes it's toes. With path and walk forward with focus by releasing fear and providing a sense of security.
So, if you think for a minute, so many of our leaders are this personality type. What if we all were able to help them remember the intrinsic value of their own humanity? How would that affect the world if more of our doers felt that intrinsic human value?
So, I'd like to share with you the oils that make up balance. Are you ready for this? This is how amazing Gary Young. Now you think about balance in life. Start thinking about these oils. It's made up with lavender, frankincense, ylang-ylang, sacred frankincense, balsam fir, jasmine, royal Hawaiian sandalwood, galbanian, orange, angelica, geranium, myrrh, spruce, cistus, northern lights black spruce, coriander, bergamot, Roman chamomile, lemon, palmarosa, rose, vetiver, hyssop, ocotillo, and sage. Like, think about now in the thought of like picking out an oil and what that oil could do for you today. Is that amazing? Yeah. And you know that these oils protect us in so many ways in the world in which we live in. Think about all of the oils that's in that blend and what they can do for you. And then the last oil, what was the first oil for this one? Live with passion. Live with passion. What was the second oil? Balance. Balance. The third oil is the last blend that Gary gave us, and that blend was called Journey On. Journey On, be a daily reminder of Gary's vision and impact in our life as you create a sense of personal peace and spirituality. Embrace Gary's legacy and take your journey on. When Dr. Gary Young formulated an oil blend, he did it for the purpose. When he selected the oils for Journey On, originally developed for the World Peace Caravan, he was about to embark on a journey to unite others in bringing peace to the world. Now Young Living and the Young Living family are pleased to share Journey On as a commemorative oil blend to honor Gary's life, his vision for peace and unity, and his passion for essential oils. This inspiring aroma is herbaceous and earthly and includes a careful selection of powerful oil blends, including Dreamcatcher, Emu Power, and Motivation, along with copaiba, cinnamon bark, and peppermint. It's a beautiful grounding aroma. It's meant to inspire people everywhere to celebrate what makes up unique and show greater understanding of compassion for one another. Use this inspired blend to be motivated in your personal journey towards your whole life wellness. And as we remember Gary, we recall his mission to educate the world about essential oils and to ultimately transform our world into a peaceful, well society. The purpose of the caravan continues as we identify our own personal journeys. We bring joy and harmony into our lives, and we share that peace and purpose with others. So now let me share with you. I shared with you some blends that are in this. Now let me break it down and share with you all the oils that are in this blend. Are you ready for this one? Peppermint, balsam, copaiba, hyssop, mountain savory, cistus, camphor, frankincense, oregano, sacred sandalwood, tangerine, ylang-ylang, bergamot, anise, juniper, black spruce, geranium, lavender, dorado azul, thank you, blue cypress, davana, cistus hystrix, jasmine, blue tansy, rose, grapefruit, spearmint, lemon, ocotillo, cumin, cinnamon, clove, peppermint, and Roman chamomile. That's profound when you think how many oils we have in those blends. How are we doing? Everybody need to stand up and just stretch for a minute? Let's stand up for a second. Everybody turn to the yellow wall over here. I'd like you to put your two hands on the shoulders of the person in front of you and give them a nice massage. Tell them how you like it. Tell them how you like it. Come on, Terry, do her shoulders. Okay, do a little karate chop, up and down. Okay, turn the other way. Give it back to them. Tell them the way you like it. Now you know. Okay, karate chops. Okay, everybody sit down smiling. Okay, the number 4 in the Enneagram, Naomi, is?
The Individualist Romantic, the Rebel, are deeply emotional, authentic people who need to feel and tell us about it.
Okay, and the first oil that we have for these people is common sense. It's an essential oil blend. It's a priority blend of Young Living essential oils formulated to enhance rational decision-making ability, leading to increased wellness, purpose, and abundance.
Which one is that again?
Common sense.
Common sense.
It's made up of frankincense, ylang-ylang, ocotillo, goldenrod, rue, which is like in the rutavala, coriando, I can't say that word. Coriander azul, and lime. Dorado azul. Thank you. The spiritual influence. See, if I can get up here and say this and make a mistake like that, what does that tell all of you can do? You can do this, right? And obviously I'm not a perfectionist, right? Okay, so what is a spiritual influencer? The oil is common sense, helps us to relax and focus so we can make good decisions from the heart, rather than quick decisions that in the long run can ultimately cost us spiritually and physically. I want to share with you a personal story about this blend. I was one of the first trainers for the company, meaning I went all over the world training on basic chemistry, essential oils, the supplements, nutrition. And I came to Gary, and when I started traveling all over the world, I discovered that common sense wasn't really common. And I went to Gary and I said, Gary, can you create a blend called Common Sense that I could anoint everyone that comes into my class? So they would be anointed with common sense, and if they didn't have common sense, I hoped that they would make up for it with their intelligence. And Gary laughed. It took him 10 years to make this blend. But when he did make the blend, he introduced it at the convention, and guess who he called up on stage and gave the first bottle to? Me. He said, Marcella Vonn, you asked for this blend many, many years ago, and it's my privilege to give it to you now. And I think it's one of the most phenomenal oils that we have in the world today, because a lot of people don't have common sense. And common sense can get you through life a long way. So, the spiritual influence, it's transformation. The next oil is transformation. So the first oil was what? Common sense. Our second oil is transformation. And this includes Idaho Blue Spruce, Palo Santo, and Ocotillo. These powerful essential oils empower you to replace negative beliefs with uplifting thoughts when diffused. This blend is made up of lemon, peppermint, royal Hawaiian sandalwood, clary, sacred frankincense, Idaho Blue Spruce, cardamom, Ocotillo, and Palo Santo. Transformation essential oil releases the emotions of can't do it, commitment, stagnation, and limitation. It helps us move forward into a place of love, compassion, and accountability. For those of us who feel stuck and have a hard time to speak up, this oil will help you. It will support you in standing in your truth, seeing life differently, and embracing a new needed change. How many of you are learning a little bit about some oils you never really thought of?
Yes.
The third oil for our number 4, right? We're at 4. Is sensation. And remember, this is also the romantic. And sensation oil is probably one of the most romantic body soaps that we have in essential oils. I mean, I could tell you all kinds of stories, but this is on tape, so I've been. But it combines pure ylang-ylang, coriander, and other essential oils, encouraging feelings of love and affection when diffused. Those other oils are coriander, ylang-ylang, bergamot, jasmine, and geranium. Sensation promotes the emotions of love, intimacy, and confidence. It helps us to release emotional blocks to love, self-love, and sharing love. If we are experiencing low sexual energy, this oil may help you unblock those emotional issues, preventing you from embracing intimacy. And it may help with self-expression and spiritual awareness. It also affects the chakras areas. It opens the sacral and the heart chakras. So it's a phenomenal oil.
And one of the reasons this is so important for the romantic type is they tend to get lost in this world of feelings and almost forget that their body exists. And it's when you become aware of yourself in the present moment, your body is there, and then your thoughts can get themselves more organized. So it's a fantastic choice for this type.
So our next Enneagram is number 5. And the number 5 is?
The intellectual investigator, Stephen Hawking, Bill Gates.
So our first oil here is brain power. It's a blend of essential oils high in sesquiterpenes, including sacred sandalwood, blue cypress, and frankincense. It promotes a sense of clarity and focus when used aromatically. It's a blend of sacred sandalwood, cedarwood, frankincense, melissa, blue cypress, lavender, and helichrysum. The spiritual influence, it will help those who suppress emotions such as passion, excitement, and joy, or those who lack motivation and like to procrastinate. It gives the mental clarity and focus needed to overcome apathy and embrace life. Now, this is amazing because this oil, when used, is a great place to put it on the bottom of both big toes, put it on the brainstem, the back of the neck. But Gary Young taught me one of the greatest ways to use this oil is put it on your thumb. Put your thumb in your mouth and suck your thumb. If you put your thumb, it's kind of a personal thing, I guess, but if everybody were to put their thumb up in the roof of their mouth, you'd find that the top of your thumb fits perfectly into the top of that. All babies in utero suck their thumb. By putting your thumb up in the top, it opens up the meridians to the brain for brain development in utero. Fascinating the way the body works. So I give you permission as an adult to suck your thumb. Gary shared with me that one of the things that he found that was quite profound was to change the DNA and to change old habits. And one of the things Gary said the best thing to do is put brain power on the top of your thumb, suck your thumb, and walk backwards. And that's one of the ways that we can reshift our body. And that's something that somebody wouldn't normally do, right? So can you see how all of a sudden that would rewire the synapses in your brain and your body, especially in Chinese medicine when you're actually stimulating those meridians to the brain? Just a little story I thought I'd share with you. Are you enjoying this?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So what's the first oil for number 5? Brain power. The second oil for number 5 is clarity. And Clarity Blend is the basil, rosemary, peppermint, and other essential oils for the aroma that invites a sense of clarity and alertness. It's basil, cardamom, rosemary, peppermint, coriander, geranium, bergamot, ylang-ylang, lemon, jasmine, Roman chamomile, and palmarosa. The spiritual influence of Clarity essential oil will help those who are resistant to learning new things or changing habitual patterns. It gives the mental clarity and laser focus needed to overcome change and embrace learning on a new level. This is a fantastic oil for just literally being in that place receptive to new things, okay? And then the last oil for number 5 is an oil called Aroma Life. Aroma Life uses marjoram and ylang-ylang to energize your spirit and create a sense of connection. It's a blend of sesame seed oil, cypress, marjoram, ylang-ylang, and helichrysum. It supports us in reducing stress and opening the heart chakra, energy center of the heart. It releases sorrow and grief and helps to embrace joy, love, peace, and gratitude. It helps us release the emotions of aloneness and or a feeling of being alone and not supported. I want to share something with you. Aroma Life is the number 1 oil for the heart. That oil and ylang-ylang, okay? And this blend has ylang-ylang in it. And this is an oil blend that actually, as a doctor, if anybody were to suffer an aneurysm or a stroke, within 24 hours of putting this oil on their big toe and their brainstem, I can't say numbers, but in my own life, in the 28 years I've been with Young Living, there have been people that have had symptoms of stroke where they've been lost their use of part of their body or their speech, and within 24 hours of getting this oil on their brainstem and the top of their big toes, they've come back with all of their speech. Wow. And had all the feeling back in parts of their body. This oil is a phenomenal blend for anything to do with the heart. And anything to do with the heart also affects the brain. So when you look in life at foods and supplements that support the brain, they support the heart. Those two totally connected. Your B vitamins are really big for the heart and for the brain, okay? Is that a good little tidbit? Okay, so now we're moving on to 6. We're almost done. You're gonna miss me when we're done. I'm gonna share. Okay, so Naomi, what is number 6?
This is the loyal skeptic, the egalitarian who wants to be together with the people around them and suffers from anxiety.
So our first blend for number 6 is peace and calming. It's a gentle, sweet blend of ylang-ylang, orange, tangerine, patchouli, blue tansy. It's one of Young Living's most popular essential oil blends. With a calming, sweet aroma, this blend is one you'll love using during your children's bedtime, for yourself, after the house has settled down. And how many of you all have an inner child?
Oh.
That little inner child will love getting ready for bedtime with this oil too. It's a blend of tangerine, orange, ylang-ylang, patchouli, and blue tansy. And the spiritual influence is when the mind is calm, we are able to focus and think clearly. This oil allows us to visualize our goals and dreams truthfully through our heart. It is our heart where our true dreams live and are supported. The second oil blend is another blend inspired by the Ula gentleman. It's called Faith. The essential oil blend is especially formulated to help you feel grateful, humble, and fully secure in your place in the world. This confidence-boosting blend enhances spiritual influences, promotes deeper meditation, and a greater sense of spiritual awareness and connectiveness. Faith affirmation is, I am grateful, humble, and fully connected. What is a spiritual and emotional influence? This oil inspires us to find the trust within ourselves by trusting our own intuition or inner self and our Creator. As we trust more in ourselves, we are open to receiving support from our divine Creator, which then allows for all of what we choose to show up in our earthly world. So above, so below. It will help us to release negative belief systems which stop us from trusting our gut and keep us in the self-doubt of distrust. This blend is made up of sacred frankincense, balsam fir, myrrh, sage, geranium, palo santo, coriander, bergamot, lemon, ylang-ylang, jasmine, Roman chamomile, lemongrass, and rose. And the last oil for number 6, what was the first? What was the second?
Faith.
The next one is an oil blend called Field, and it's inspired by Ula also. It's an essential oil blend especially formulated to encourage feelings of self-worth and strength that may help you reach your truth, unlimited potential. This essential oil is a blend support clarity to support you to realize your desires and mesh your career with your life purpose. It's made up of cardamom, frankincense, ylang-ylang, nutmeg, ginger, neroli, coriander, spruce, bergamot, Idaho blue spruce, geranium, balsam fir, and sweet almond oil. The spiritual and emotional influence is once people have found their passion, purpose, and their why, the rest is easy when you have faith and are willing to do the work to become that person. The biggest obstacle is that people lead with trying to find their purpose first. Take the time to discover more of you, know your heart, and you will be surprised on how your career takes off. Use this oil to break through those areas in your life where you have been blocked yourself to have become blocked due to family belief systems. This oil blend is called Field, F-I-E-L-D, by Ula, Field. And I thank you all for being here tonight and literally being open to looking at the possibilities of learning a little bit more about you and how to relate, because this is going to make everything easier for you. We're on number 7. Yes, Victoria.
Yeah, I have a question. For going back for a minute for aroma life, in Chinese medicine, if you get a heart attack within the first 30 days, you can transform a person and stop the heart attack and get it gone. So would that be the same thing for the aroma life?
Yes.
That you use
Yes.
for the first 30
And I
days?
will tell you, if you have someone that has suffered a stroke or aneurysm, I personally would be using that blend on them every day. So we've had people over at Barrows that have gone in, and within the phone call of finding out they're there, we're up at that hospital to put Aroma Life on the bottom of their feet, on their brainstem. And believe it or not, Barrows has been very receptive to the oils there. I've personally had a number of people there that have been there, and we've used the oils. And we've continuously put them on, and some of them you would have never even known they've had a stroke.
That's amazing.
Yes.
Okay, so you put it on more than once a day? Like, how frequently?
Well, like, okay, so again, we can't diagnose and prescribe.
Right.
So like when my husband was in the hospital a number of years ago, I know that lemongrass is an oil that is profound for protecting me in a hospital where hospitals are full of all kinds of germs and things that you really don't want to get when you go into a hospital, right? So I know that lemongrass is one of the #1 oils that can protect me. So guess what? We were putting it on him all the time. Like, we were rubbing his feet all the time. You know, nurse would come in and we're just rubbing his feet. Just rubbing his feet. Or anointing his head with frankincense, you know. I mean, we're hanging out in the hospital all the time, so we've all got it on. So, you know, if I have somebody home or, you know, I'm visiting them in the hospital, then I would definitely be putting it on there. But if I'm on a routine, I'd be putting it on every morning. I'd be putting it on every night. If I'm hanging around you in the afternoon, I may put it on you then too. You know, I have a reputation when I fly with people, I spray them down. So, you know, you never know what you're going to get with me. I have little spray bottles and I just spray a little purification, a little lavender. Eucalyptus radiata. I've never had a problem on an airplane with eucalyptus. Oh, it smells like a spa. We're going somewhere. And then it protects me because I'm with all these totally strangers breathing in their air. Okay.
So, I'm sorry.
Don't be
If the struggle
sorry.
happened years ago, do you think any of these oils have any effect to improve a situation that's 10 years ago? Would you have any?
I live in a world of infinite possibilities. Infinite possibilities. Gary gave us these oils as tools for the infinite possibilities of our life. I believe that anyone that's ever been introduced to Young Living essential oils, their life will never be the same.
I agree.
Now, there's lots of other oil companies and everything out there, and people go into denial every day of their life. But every one of these oil companies out there today have their roots in our company. Their roots in our company. This is a company that's celebrating their 25th anniversary this year. You tell me a company that's been around longer than us. We're the only network marketing essential oil company in the world. And when Gary introduced essential oils into the United States, the only essential oils they ever knew was a few perfume. He introduced the whole world of a whole new way of a tool for us called essential oils and true purity of essential oils. The challenge that we have as Young Living is we're purist in a world that doesn't really care. And it's sad that I say that, but when we look at the products out there today and the toxins and the poisons and the additives put in products today, our challenge is we're purist. So you know what I tell them? I'm only looking for people that are just like me. And we've got enough oil for all of those in the world. But people that really care about the earth, their planet, and themselves and their bodies. That's what we're all about. There's lots of oil companies out there. But we're purist. Yes?
What can you share about CBD?
I'll wait till I'm done with this, but I can share a lot. And that will be a whole class. And after the convention, we'll probably do a class on all the new products. They're introducing a lot of new products, and CBD oil will be made available where you will be paid a commission on it after the convention. Okay? Okay, so we're on number 7. We only got a couple more. You guys good for this? Yes. You ready? Yes. You didn't sound like you were really ready.
Yes.
You think they're ready?
Maybe. Are you really ready?
Yes.
Because if we're doing the Enthusiast.
So, number 7 is the Enthusiast and the Epicure.
Yes. Special, tasty sausages. With very unique mustard and 1,000 phone calls that you don't get more than 10 minutes of undivided time with.
That was her story, remember? Okay. So the first oil for this one is grounding. It's an essential oil blend. It's a unique combination of white fir, black spruce, ylang-ylang, pine, and other essential oils, which are ylang-ylang, pine, cedarwood, angelica, and juniper. It complements feelings of stability, clarity, and spirituality. Its grounding's warm and entrancing aroma can create an atmosphere that is perfect for finding self-awareness and confronting negative emotions. Diffuse or apply it topically as you stabilize and ground your day and work to cope with life's daily challenges. The spiritual influences of grounding, the essential oil will help those who are bored or feel lost. None of you ever feel bored, right? It will help to stabilize the emotions and help us deal with the challenges that are in front of us. Sometimes when we are in shock of things that are happening in our lives that we don't know how to deal with, we may disconnect and wonder in our own world. Grounding oil will help us to come back to reality and help to make choices that enable us to move forward. The second oil here is Australian blue. It's often used to uplift the spirit. This blend contains blue cypress, which is produced from the distillation of the highly prized Calatrus intropica wood in Australia. It's a blend made up of blue cypress, ylang-ylang, cedarwood, white fir, geranium, grapefruit, tangerine, spearmint, davana, kaffir lime, lemon, ocotillo, jasmine, Madacaria, blue, tansy, and rose. Australian blue essential oil will help those who feel disgusted with life or their situation. It will help us ground and stabilize the body emotionally. It also helps to calm anger and bring self-control to the mind. You use it to ground after you've had a fight or an argument. It opens up the root and the throat chakra. So this is a blend that gives people more back their voice.
The genuine voice, because the 7 personality type, the enthusiast, is the opposite of the romantic. The romantic tends to go toward getting stuck in the lower emotions, where the 7 personality type is so involved in being happy that they're trying to stay high all the time, and they're avoiding some of these deeper emotions because they judge those emotions as bad or difficult in some way. But without treating ourselves like a whole person, then we miss part of the connection in life.
The next oil here is joy. It's an essential oil blend that invites togetherness and is used adorably by members all over the world. It's made up of bergamot, ylang-ylang, geranium, lemon, coriander, tangerine, jasmine, Roman chamomile, palmarosa, and rose. Joy promotes the emotions of love, happiness, and confidence. It helps us to release emotional blocks of love, self-love, and sharing love. It also helps us to release grief and sorrow. It opens up the sacral heart and the solar plexus chakras or energy centers. I will share when Gary created this blend in the very beginning of Young Living. Gary said, boy, when I get to the place where I ever have a lot of money, I want to hire a jet and just spread joy all over the world. And I always remember him saying that story. So what were the 3 oils for number 7?
Grounding, Australian blue, and joy.
And joy. And number 8. Number 8 is our
Powerful person, the challenger, the person who worries about feeling like they matter and who wants to make sure they're influencing the world around them.
So this may surprise you, but the number 1 oil here, the first oil, is longevity. And it contains a powerful essential oil blend that helps promote youthful looking skin. It's made up of thyme, orange, clove, and frankincense. This oil will help those who they feel like they're being choked or choked up about an issue in their life. It could be from a lack of love or deep grief held in the heart and the lungs. This oil will help you release those negative emotions and embrace positive emotions of hope, joy, and forgiveness. So this blend opens up the solar plexus and the heart chakras. The second blend here is gratitude. I thought we did gratitude earlier. I have to ask Courtney.
Well, and here's an interesting thing about the gratitude, because if we go a little more deeply into the Enneagram, the 2 and the 8 are very connected, and the 2 was where the other gratitude was. And gratitude can work here, because if you want and need to feel like you matter, taking a look around at what's already working in your life is one of the best ways to do that.
So, I've already shared this stuff about gratitude, but I would say intuitively, right when I said gratitude, I would also look at the oil abundance here. Okay?
Absolutely, because the whole thing about collecting matter.
Yep. And then the third oil here is Immu Power. And Immu Power is a powerful blend of essential oils with an aroma that encourages positive energy. It's made up of hyssop, mountain savory, cistus, camphor, frankincense, oregano, clove, cumin, and Dorado Azul. This oil will help those who give to others so much that they are sacrificing of themselves and they tend to get worn out because of that. It may help those who have obsessive personalities as well. So you see that this also, just like she says the 8 is tied into the 2, you see that those two are very similar in the oils. And now we're on to,
We are on to the Peacemaker, to the Jimmy Carters of the world.
and this is number 9. So the first oil here for number 9 is Into the Future. It's an inspirational blend of essential oils that creates an invigorating aromatic companion as you look towards your life's goals and your dreams. It's made up of sweet almond oil, clary, young ylang-ylang, white fir, Idaho blue spruce, jasmine, juniper, frankincense, orange, cedarwood, and white lotus. Into the Future asks us to release old ideas and beliefs that no longer serve us. It also helps us to let go of memories and incidents from the past that hold us back and don't allow us to move forward. Whether it is shame, self-criticism, or fear or failure that is holding us back, this oil will help us to release it with faith, courage, and love. This is great for transitions. For this reason, it helps us look forward and embrace the next adventure or new challenge in our life rather than worrying about it all the time. Worrying and stressing doesn't do us any good, and it usually shuts us down physically and emotional. This blend will affect and opens up the root and solar plexus and the heart chakras. And the second oil for number 9 is the oil Believe. It contains Idaho blue spruce, Idaho balsam fir, frankincense, balsam, Canadian balsam, Idaho blue spruce. So balsam Canadian, coriander, bergamot, frankincense, Idaho blue spruce, ylang-ylang, and geranium. Believe essential oil helps us to release emotions of dishonesty, despair, and inadequate. It installs a positive emotion of hope and inspiration. It helps us to realize and believe in the infinite potential in ourselves so we can become empowered. And if you look at the word believe, it's be alive. So, I mean, it's a phenomenal oil. It opens up the solar plexus and the heart chakras. And the last oil for number 9 is Present Time. It helps you focus on the here and now so you can get beyond the past and move forward. Present Time helps just focus on the here and now. It's the spiritual influence. Present Time forces the body to stay in the moment. This is an excellent for those who live in the past and in the future and never are fully present. Those who are dealing with loss or buried emotions will benefit from this oil. Also, those who tend to daydream or live in the world of illusion will be asked to come back to the sense of reality. This is an excellent for fear because usually the mind and the body become separated when it's an extreme fear. This will bring alignment back to the body and mind as a cohesive unit. Smelling this oil will bring you right back into the moment. It's made up of sweet almond oil, black spruce, ylang-ylang, and neroli. So those are the oils. So I hope that this educated you to an opening of a newness with some of the oils and why you might want to just give yourself a gift every month of a new oil, of an oil that maybe has been beyond what you thought of and how to use it. I'm going to open it up and have anybody ask any questions. It's a little after 9 right now, so if there's any questions for Naomi.
Can I make a quick note? I have business cards on the table. Some of you who got the copies that were made last minute don't have my contact information. My phone number is 541.
They made a copy of all those pages.
But they didn't have my phone number on it.
541.
541.
It's at the bottom.
Oh, then.
They made a copy of
I
all
didn't
those
see
pages.
that. Okay.
So we made sure everyone had it all.
All right, so who
Yeah.
had, it's on the page.
It's all there.
It's on the first, it's on the pages. 541-778. Oh, my book, I'm gonna do $20 for people who are here tonight.
Okay, the number is 541?
541-778-9731.
So,
And this young lady had a question in the striped shirt.
Well, because I am a 5, I want to know if there's any resources that you recommend, both of you, that we, like, where you were coming up with all of this information, Marcella, that you're giving us, for the 10, you said there was publications that we can,
Yeah, I could probably write them out and list them because I've studied with most of them.
okay.
I mean, I've been doing this, and I went outside of Young Living for my education. I studied from Dr. LaPraz, and I studied from Dr. Francome, and I studied from a number of them all over the world. So I went to conferences every year, and came back in to give me more of a rounded education into with Young Living. So I'd be happy to do that, so we can have a conversation with it.
And then I obviously have my book, and there's a lot of people who have written about the Enneagram. Since you're a 5, one of my favorite 5s who has written about the Enneagram is Rizzo and Hudson. So any of the books by Rizzo and Hudson would probably speak to you. They were, one was a priest who actually left the priesthood because he found this so engaged, and he was a 4, and the other, no, he was the 5. So it's written by a 4 and a 5.
Okay.
So it really speaks to the level of intellectual detail you want.
Okay, is it R-I-S?
R-I-S-O and Hudson. They're actually one of my favorite teachers.
So one of the things that I'm gonna do is, we're gonna turn off the camera in a minute, but what I'd like to share with you is Young Living came out with an announcement today that they're discontinuing a couple of products, and they're giving you replacements for those. But if any of you are choosing to have these products, you need to order them very quickly. Would you like to know what those are?
Yes.
Okay, so the following products will be discontinued in the coming months. Below you'll find these products that are being discontinued, and if available, which products we recommend as replacements. So they are discontinuing Coriander, the 5mm, and Mountain Savory, but I'm gonna tell you, and Dill, you'll be able to get them in the Vitality.
Oh.
So they're only gonna package those just in the Vitality. Vitality in the essential oils means that you can take it internally. So we're one of the only companies in the world right now that have actually gone to the expense with the regulations of the government right now to literally list what oils and package what oils legally you can take internally. Okay? In personal care, they're discontinuing Protect. And you will want to replace Protect with Prostate Health and Juvacleanse Essential Oil Blend. So those 2 products will make up the difference of that one product, Protect. And in the original, I think the 3rd edition of the EDR book, you'll find the formula for Protect. So if any of you are choosing, you can make it up yourself. That's what Gary did in the very beginning. And then they are going to replace a diffuser, the Aroma Spinner. It will be discontinued. The KidSense Dino Land diffuser. The KidSense Dolphin Reef diffuser. And the Sundance diffuser are all going to be replaced by the Orb diffuser, the Desert Mist diffuser, or the Drew Dot diffuser. And then they're going to discontinue a couple of kitchen products. They're going to discontinue the cookware. Dallas, did you hear that?
Really?
Really? We have all of the cookware, and I have it in my kitchen if you'd like to see it. So if you would like to look at that, it's got like a lifetime warranty on it. It's a company out of Germany. But they're going to discontinue the frying pan, the high rim frying pan, the glass lids, the saucepan, the steamer, Gary's True Grit, Ninja Berry syrup, they're discontinuing. And the Hydrogize water bottle, the purple one and the white one, they're discontinuing. So that's just an update on that, okay? And then just for the fun, I have a couple of jokes that I will end with, and then I'll let Naomi close in any way that she chooses. How many of the Enneagram type does it take to screw in a light bulb? Are you ready for this one? So, question, how many ones does it take to screw in a light bulb if you're an Enneagram 1?
1.
Shouldn't we be using longer lasting bulbs? The 2s will say as many as you need. The 3s will say just one, but someone has to be watching. The 4s will say 1 to screw in the bulb and 1 to observe how little light it casts on the dark sea of the despair in which we live. A 5 will say that remains to be seen. No one can answer that question with any reasonable expectation of accuracy without further investigation, and it's possible that the question itself is flawed. A number 6 will say 3, 1 to screw it in, 1 to unscrew it, and 1 to screw it back in. Number 7s will say none. We brought fireworks. 8s will say none. 8s aren't afraid of the dark. And number 9s will say, oh, the old one is fine. Okay, and one last little Enneagram joke. She didn't know I was going to do this.
No, that's adorable.
So the last one is, here are some of the good ones to get started. These are classic rock songs titled that you think go with each of the 9 types. So number 1, I Can't Get No Satisfaction by the Rolling Stones, and I still haven't found what I'm looking for. The 2 types, I Want You to Want Me, and All I Need Is Love. The 3 types is Respect by Aretha Franklin and Great Pretender by the Planters. The 4 type is Only the Lonely by Roy Orbison. I'm really going back on some of these, aren't I? And You Don't Know What It's Like by the Bee Gees. The 5s are People Are Strange by the Doors and In My Room by the Beach Boys.
Morrison was a 5.
Type 6 is Be True to Your School by the Beach Boys and Stand By Me. 7s are I Want to Rock and Roll All Night and Party Every Day and Fun, Fun, Fun by the Beach Boys. And number 8, Saturday Night All Right for Fighting by Elton John and Under My Thumb by the Rolling Stones. And number 9, Take It Easy by the Eagles and Comfortably Numb by Pink Floyd. So I would like to thank you all for coming to my home tonight. It's been a long time since I've done some classes, but I could see there's a great interest, and it would be probably great just to go back to the foundations and to create a support team. So we will look at doing this. The convention is coming up. We just got back from the leadership cruise, Alaskan cruise. We had the whole ship. Some of you were there. It was a phenomenal opportunity to see the world, and you can definitely see the world with Young Living. The convention's coming up. It's our 25th anniversary. It's really, they're expecting 40,000 people this year. We're doing a whole new format for it. You can still get tickets. You can find a roommate. We'd love to have you. We'll do a class sometime after. I'm personally doing knee surgery the Friday after the convention. So I'm going to be a little bit detained for about 2 months. I'm doing a new ACL surgery again on my knee. So, but we will start up the classes. Courtney and Luke have been doing some of the rallies. And we have a rally coming up the next one's November. August. So we'll look at that. But please get to some of the classes. Share Young Living. Let's just keep it going. We used to put on events here in Phoenix and have thousands of people. So I'd love to see Phoenix become a great big hub again for what we're doing here. And I'd like to thank Naomi for all of her knowledge, and I'm just going to give her to you for any questions and answers and socialize a little bit. She can sign some of your books. She doesn't have that many there, so if you're interested in the books, line up in front of that table over there. Courtney, if you can kind of do that till Naomi gets there. And do you have anything you want to share, Courtney?
I just want to say Courtney's amazing.
Yeah. Courtney is my assistant, and she's a number 2, so she's my helper. So thank you all. God bless you. Drive home carefully and stick around, engage with us in conversations. If you've got any questions, we'd love to answer those for you.
So thoughts, questions, something for me? Yes?
I want to know if you don't identify strongly as one of them, you're probably a blend of 2.
We are all of the types. There is one type that is your primary motivation. It's like the thing that moves you more than anything else. And we There's also the idea that there's a tri-type, meaning that we all actually have all of the types, and the idea of the tri-type is that we all have a head, a heart, and a body center that is our primary one in that center. But it still comes back to there's one thing that more than anything else, even if it's just a little bit, moves you. And it's sometimes really hard to land on it, especially if there's a strong family identity or a strong cultural identity toward one.
Currently really unbalanced or deficient in
That can, yes.
one way,
Yes.
may not.
And understanding what your deficiency is can help you understand what your type is.
To really, to get sick with it, to find out where a person